What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including Bayley's brother goes missing, Brodie Lee Jr.'s AEW contract details, Amanda Huber's passionate plea to wrestling fans, a big mistake occurred on Raw that wasn't supposed to happen, the real reason why Carlito wasn't on Raw Legends Night, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Now let's hit the intro and get straight into the first story. Now our first story looks at Bayley's brother was missing. A scary situation is over as SmackDown superstar Bayley's younger brother has been found. Bayley took to social media asking fans for help in tracking down her brother. She wrote on Instagram, "Please help, my younger brother Jeremy is missing. He was last seen on Fort Lewis Military Base in Lakewood, Washington yesterday morning at 7:08 a.m. Jeremy was driving a four-door white Subaru with tinted windows. Thankfully, Bayley's brother was found, with Bayley posting, "Wow, that was fast. We have located my brother within 90 seconds after posting. Thank you all for the love." It's really amazing sometimes what the internet can do to help others. We're glad that Bayley's brother was found in quick time. Next up, Brodie Lee Jr.'s contract obligations. Now that Brodie Lee Jr. is all elite, fans are just wondering what the 8-year-old's contractual obligations are. For those who are curious, here's what the youngster's mother Amanda had to say via Instagram. Also, just for clarity's sake, number 1, his contract with AEW is valid on his 18th birthday if he chooses to wrestle. Nobody's going to push it with him. If you were to spend 10 minutes talking to him, you'd understand why they gave him a contract though. Number 2, school is number 1 for him. Number 3, he is not seriously training at the moment or will be taking bookings or anything ridiculous right now. I know I shouldn't have to clarify, but with social media I end up seeing stories of how he's being forced into this or questions about his contract. All sorts of craziness. At this moment, all of this wrestling around him is our friends trying to make an 8-year-old pro wrestling fan feel a bit of happiness after losing his hero. The wrestling community has come together to help Brodie Lee's family, including Natalia and husband TJ Perkins, who allowed Brodie Jr. to come to their training facility. Amanda posted a video of Brodie Jr. wrestling with Liv Morgan and also commented that AEW let Brodie Jr. cut some promos which aired on AEW Dark. It's nice to see he's a little badass in the ring. I love that fake out. Next up, Amanda Huber doesn't want fans hating WWE. Amanda Huber is still dealing with the loss of her husband, John, aka Mr. Brodie Lee, and one thing she doesn't want to see is fans wasting their time with hating the WWE. During an appearance on Instagram Live, Amanda commented that she or her husband never hated the WWE. "So many people expect myself and my family to hate on WWE. The fact is we don't. We never have. My husband absolutely got frustrated because he wanted more than they had envisioned for him. That didn't mean he hated them." She then went on to say how the WWE helped Brodie fulfill many of his dreams as well as to meet some amazing people. "In my husband's final moments, the people that surrounded my family were wrestlers. Companies didn't matter." She ended her message by asking fans, "Please, I beg you, stop trying to create a divide in wrestling. Support pro wrestling, love pro wrestling, live your life like Brodie in a way that people speak like this." Or whether or not fans listen to Amanda's message remains to be seen, but let's just keep peace, eh? Next up, a moment on Raw wasn't supposed to happen. It looks like there was a miscue during the Charlotte Flair Asuka vs Peyton Royce Lacey Evans tag match on Legends Night when Ric Flair accidentally tripped Charlotte Flair, costing her and Asuka the match. Apparently, that wasn't the way the finish was supposed to go, at least according to Wrestling Observer Live's Brian Alvarez, who was reporting, "I've just been alerted, by the way, for those of you who watched Raw, that, in fact, the story was supposed to be Rick was trying to trip Peyton, and it was supposed to be an accident." The story of the match was that Lacey Evans was flirting with Slick Rick all night, perhaps influencing the 16-time world champion's judgment. It's unknown how things would have played out if the trip had gone as planned. So it does mean that Charlotte Flair calling out her father and telling him to leave was all unscripted. It was kinda cool that all that moment was done on the fly. Next up, the Firefly Funhouse match scrapped. While the WWE Universe can rest assured that The Fiend is coming back, there are different stories circulating concerning what type of match Bray Wyatt's twisted twin will face Randy Orton in. At one point there was talk of a Firefly Funhouse match between the two, much like The Fiend vs John Cena at WrestleMania 36, but now that might not happen. With Randy Orton announcing himself for this year's Royal Rumble, some fans and wrestling pundits such as WrestleTalk's Louis Dango think it's unlikely the WWE will book Orton in 2 matches in one night, especially a gimmick match and likely a cinematic match involving Orton and The Fiend. However, at this point it's mere speculation, and it's entirely possible that Orton will take himself out of the Rumble when The Fiend returns. Or he could also even pull double duty. It's been done before many times at the Rumble, but it's also possible that the WWE will save an Orton vs Fiend cinematic match for WrestleMania. What do you guys think will happen? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, Roman Reigns vs Kevin Owens at the Rumble. It looks like the WWE isn't done with its current program between Universal Champion Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens. While the Tribal Chief has prevailed in his matches against KO, it's always been with outside help from Jey Uso, leading to claims that Reigns can't win on his own. With Owens refusing to quit, rumour has it that the two will meet at Royal Rumble in a last man standing match. Next up, who is the favourite to win the Men's Royal Rumble? With Kevin Owens possibly fighting Roman Reigns again at the Rumble, fans are naturally curious who will face Reigns at WrestleMania, as it seems to be all but given that the Tribal Chief will retain his title in order to make WrestleMania 37 a bigger draw. But according to Ringside News, the sports betting site Sky Bet has picked its favourites to win, as well as 5 potential other winners. Daniel Bryan, after declaring his intention to take down Roman Reigns, is the 2-1 favourite to win the 30-man Rumble match and progress to the main event of WrestleMania. The top 5 in the running are as follows: Big E 9-2, Keith Lee 9-2, Brock Lesnar 6-1, and Edge 6-1, which is really interesting. We didn't think that we would see Edge back this early, but if Bryan does win the Royal Rumble, he has his pick of whom to challenge at WrestleMania. There were rumours for months that Bryan was being positioned for a program against Roman Reigns, with talk of Bryan squaring off against Reigns at the Rumble. However, with KO potentially meeting Reigns again, the WWE may want to wait until Mania to have Bryan face Reigns. Nothing is ever written in stone as far as Vince McMahon is concerned, and there's no telling who will walk away from the Rumble with a world title shot. Next up, the real reason Carlito didn't appear and more on Legends Night. More backstage details are emerging from Legends Night, including what happened to Carlito's appearance and what went wrong with the Goldberg vs Drew McIntyre confrontation. Let's look at the Carlito situation first, as Carlito was one of several superstars scheduled to appear at Legends Night, but who wasn't there. Wrestling Inc.'s Nick Hausman had their exclusive on what happened. Wrestling Inc. has learned that Carlito was never officially booked for the show at all. WWE sent feelers out to a variety of talents, including Carlito, and someone internally in the WWE apparently simply jumped the gun announcing his appearance. This was not an issue of travel problems or him being held up due to COVID-19 precautions. We're told that there's no bad blood over the errant announcement, since it appears to have just been a communication error. And no one should be surprised at the WWE's failure to coordinate the actual guest list and the scheduled guest list, considering the company's history of social media mix-ups. Another Legends Night gaffe occurred during the closing segment when Bill Goldberg made a surprise appearance challenging Drew McIntyre to a WWE Championship match at the Royal Rumble. Apparently, Drew was supposed to cut a promo after successfully defending the title against Keith Lee, a promo which Dave Meltzer claims would have set up Goldberg challenging Drew. What the exact nature of the promo would be is unknown, but Meltzer noted on the Wrestling Observer Radio that the Lee McIntyre match went over time, forcing the WWE to send Dollar Bill out early to challenge Drew. Fans were naturally confused as to why Goldberg accused McIntyre of disrespecting the WWE legends on hand when Drew did no such thing. And finally, Drew's big achievement. Last but not least, congratulations to WWE Champion Drew McIntyre, who amassed an amazing number of wins in 2020. Sportskeeda reviewed data from Cage-Side Seats reporting McIntyre has won more matches than anyone else in the WWE this year with 47, while Asuka has recorded 36 victories. Another Raw Superstar United States Champion Bobby Lashley has won the same number of matches as Keith Lee, 34 in 2020. You may recall the WWE has been reportedly protecting Bobby Lashley to keep him available for a high-profile match in 2021, with Brock Lesnar's name being mentioned. Yeah, I still want that match. But there you have it, guys, the wildest wrestling news stories and rumors you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, follow us on Instagram and Facebook for exclusive lists, and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.